Hello again, and welcome back to Just the Tip. Alright guys, I have an exciting one for you this week. We're going to be talking about Christy, starring Sydney Sweeney and Ben Foster.
Oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, have I got a treat for you.
So this was directed by a guy named David, whose last name, my best guess, is something like My Chode. So I get to say the line that My Chode directed a movie starring Sydney Sweeney this year. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get into Christy. So, for those of you who don't know, Christy is a dramatized biopic about the life of Christy Martin, who was influential in the sport of women's boxing. Over the course of her nearly 2-decade career, Christy amassed a final record of 49 wins, 7 losses, and 3 draws. She last held the WBC championship title in 2009, and it was her fight on the Tyson Bruno undercard in '97 that lit the women's boxing world on fire. When she fought Gogarty and won, that was a pivotal moment that changed the sport forever and allowed women's boxers to have real careers resembling those of male boxers. Women were previously kind of outcast from the publicity of the sport. Now you see fighters like Amanda Nunes and Chris Cyborg getting, bags in the tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, and, having title cards of their own. But it's the dark and tragic personal life of Christy Martin that this movie tends to focus on, and it's where our performances really get a chance to shine. Christy grew up in the 80s and 90s, where the culture maybe wasn't as friendly to an out lesbian, so she struggled in the closet for most of her life. But her story takes its darkest turn when the man in her life enters the picture. She is introduced to her manager, Jim Martin, who later becomes her husband. And in 2010, Jim Martin stabs Christy multiple times and shoots her, leaving her for dead in their home. Thankfully, Christy survives this ordeal, and Jim Martin is later sentenced to 25 years in prison, where he eventually dies. And in my opinion, that's a good thing. Fuck that guy. He's a whole piece of shit.
That nigga can eat a dick!
And this is where the villain of the year comes in.
Well, we're waiting.
Ben Foster's performance as Jim Martin is terrifying. He makes your skin crawl just in the background of a scene because you know that he has his wheels turning. He is trying to figure out new ways to manipulate Christy, to take her money, to use her fame as a way for him to gain more wealth and power. And he constantly abuses her, threatens to kill her, and eventually attempts to make good on that. I believe Ben Foster is probably one of the greatest character actors of our time. His performances in movies like 3:10 to Yuma and Hell or High Water are some of my favorites. Especially his role as the Lord of the Plains in Hell or High Water. Hell or High Water is one of my favorite sort of pseudo-westerns or new westerns. And I really enjoy that movie, mostly because of an outstanding performance from Ben Foster. Similar to Christian Bale in Vice, this is his role as Dick Cheney. Ben Foster melts into the costume and makeup for Jim Martin as a overweight, out of shape, slimy, grimy piece of garbage with a terrible, terrible hairdo. Y'all think our president's hair is bad, you should see Jim Martin. His performance was so real that Christy Martin said in an interview that she literally verbally attacked him on set and had to be broken up because to her, she was just reliving her experience with Jim Martin seeing him. And he's absolutely terrifying. I am not one to be afraid or even intimidated really by human characters, because to me they're still humans, and humans are just fleshy bags that they bleed if you stick them hard enough.
Look, you stupid bastard, you've got no arms left. Yes, I have. Look! It's just a flesh wound.
But Ben Foster in this is chilling, so much to the point that he was my sleep paralysis demon the following night, so I got to stare at a silhouette of the fat, evil Jim Martin. And I think Ben Foster is absolutely incredible in this role. He does really outshine Sydney Sweeney, and while Sydney Sweeney does give a very solid performance here, the real problem is that $1 Million Baby exists. That movie was directed by Clint Eastwood and stars Hilary Swank, And at this point in Sydney Sweeney's career, she's not quite the same level of character actress as Hilary Swank. And unfortunately, my chode is definitely not the same caliber of director as the great Clint Eastwood.
Got him! Got him!
But it's Ben Foster who carries this number. And at 2 hours and 15 minutes, this movie does slow down, particularly in the first act and beginning of the second, where he is not quite so visible. But the third act and conclusion of this is where this movie really ramps up, and Jim Martin will leave you with nightmares. I hope this thing finds a new life on streaming. There has been a little bit of discourse about this movie that I think is mostly up to how you feel about Sydney Sweeney at the current moment, given her controversy over a jeans ad. Gosh, 2025 is something, right? But anyway, I thank you very much for checking out the video. I am going to be talking a lot more about this movie on our podcast on Sunday. So episode 25 will be probably coming out sometime Sunday evening. I hope you guys check that out. Check out Christy once it comes on to streaming, because this was an awesome time. Probably the best sports movie of the year so far, because him was big nothing. And that'll be it for this one. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, let me know your thoughts on the video. Let me know your thoughts on Ben Foster as the villain of the year. Tim and I will, of course, be giving an end of the year roundup once we get closer to end of December. And I'm sure we'll have our own thoughts at that point on who the villain and heroes of the year and all that sort of stuff in between. So check out the podcast for our deep dives on this movie and pretty much everything that comes out. Sorry we haven't been as present with the Just the Tips, but those will be coming out hopefully a little bit more regularly as things start to wind down near the holidays when we have a little bit more free time. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Steve. This has been Just the Tip. Subscribe to HollyDudes for more. I'll see you guys on Sunday for the podcast. Take care.